Cofunctions, Algebra 2, Trigonometry Regions. First, a little bit of notes. Cofunctions, complements. Notice that the word complement starts with a CO, and so does cofunctions. A function of an acute angle is equal to the cofunction of its complement base, because what's opposite one acute right triangle angle is adjacent the other. Saying it out like that sounds definitely very confusing. Let's draw a picture to kind of visualize this. I was expecting to have a little bit more space here. I'll draw just a little diagram up here. So if we have a little triangle up here, and we know this is 90 degrees, well, let's say this is 30 and this is 60. So it's 30, 60, 90 right triangle, and we know that this is 1, this is 2, this would be radical 3. And you know, we've had lessons about why that is the case, but let's just take this picture for now. Notice that sine of 30 equals 1/2. That's something you should know, but also in this diagram we see sine of 30, sine's opposite, which would be 1 over the hypotenuse, which is 2. And also cosine of 60 also equals 1 over 2. And cosine is not opposite over hypotenuse, but it's adjacent over hypotenuse. And this 1 here is, yes, it's opposite the 30 over the hypotenuse, but for 60, remember when we change our perspective to the other angle, this 1 is not opposite 60, this 1 is adjacent to 60. So this is what this sentence is saying here, that what's opposite one acute angle is adjacent the other. This 1 is opposite 30, but it's adjacent to 60. And so what that means that cosine 30, which is opposite over hypotenuse, and I'm sorry, I said cosine. Sine 30, which is 1 over 2, is the same as cosine 60, which is adjacent over hypotenuse, 1 over 2. And so we get this connection, which is related to what we call cofunctions, that sine 30 equals cosine 60 because 30 plus 60 equals 90. Because they are the complementary acute angles of a right triangle. So if you have one acute angle, and do sine or cosine of, let's say, sine of any random acute angle, cosine of its complement is the same thing because it's just going from one angle to the other. So if we were to, let me draw another picture here and forget about 30, 60, 90. Let's just draw a small diagram here. Let's say 10 and 80. Right, so these are not special angles by any means, but sine of 10 is going to be this side over here. Let's call it A over B, right? Sine of 10 is A over B. Well, cosine of 80 is also A over B. So you end up with sine of 10 equals cosine of 80. Because sine of 10 is this over this, and cosine of 80 is also this over this. So sine and cosine equal each other when their angles are complementary. And that's what we start to get into here. That sine and cosine are equal when their angles are complements. And the same thing goes for a bunch of the other functions. You may notice that cosecant is like the secant with a co in front of it. That secant and cosecant are equal when their angles are complements. And tangent and cotangent are equal when their angles are complements. Because sine and cosine, sine of one angle on a triangle is equal to cosine of the other acute angle. And the same thing for secant of one is, for one acute angle is cosecant of the other. And tangent of tangent of 10 equals cotangent of 80. So they're equal when their angles are complements, and complement means adds to 90. Because it's making up the two angles in a triangle, since you know 3 angles in a triangle add to 180. If this is a 90-degree angle, your two acute angles have to be, complementary. So that's the background to it. But solving these questions is super easy. Probably one of the easiest things that we're doing the entire year. That whenever you see sine equals cosine like this, what that means is that this angle and this angle are complements. So all you're going to do is take this 40 plus this x and set it equal to 90 degrees. These must be complementary. So 40 plus x equals 90, and so x equals 50. And you can certainly check it on your calculator very easily if you type in, let's minimize this, type in sine 40, get that, type in cos 50, same thing. And again, if we were to draw a picture, because whatever our 40-degree angle is, whatever's opposite our 40 is going to be adjacent to the 50. And, you know, the 40 plus 50 is 90, and those are the two acute angles in the triangle. Tangent equals cotangent. Well, tangent equals its cofunction cotangent when their expressions, this plus this, equal 90. That's all you're really doing in this. Understanding why it would be nice, because again, what's opposite one is adjacent to the other. If I, just draw again one more picture here. If I were to call this angle A and angle B, this side, this is our hypotenuse no matter what. But this over here, this side right here, this is opposite angle A, but it's also adjacent to angle B. And then this over here is opposite angle B, but it's also adjacent to angle A. So when I do, tangent of A, that's this over this, right? Tangent A is this side over this side. Well, tangent or cotangent of B is not opposite over adjacent, it's adjacent over opposite. It just works out that it's the same thing, because what's opposite one acute angle in a right triangle is adjacent the other. And so sine and cosine are cofunctions, secant and cosecant, tangent and cotangent, and it's easy to remember which one goes with which because they have the co of the other word. So let's just finish this problem. So again, you're just taking what's here plus this and setting it equal to 90. Don't forget to put a plus between these and equals 90, and then you just solve. So 3x minus 6 equals 90. 3x equals 96 divided by 3, x equals 32. You can certainly check it. Again, now that you know x equals 32, what we're saying is tangent 32, because that's tangent x, equals cotangent 2 times 32 would be 64, minus 6 would be 58, and again, you can make sure that these do add to 90, that's 80, 90, but your calculator can type it in for you, so we could do tangent 32, get something, and then what we want to know is cotangent 58 the same thing? Well, you do 1 divided by tangent to get cotangent, and it does indeed match. So a check is really easy. One more example with secant and cosecant. Secant and cosecant. So let's just take this plus this equals 90. 3x minus 30 equals 90. 3x equals, if we add 90, 120. X equals 40. What's the value of x? The answer is 40. Let me just check it. That would be secant 40 equals cosecant 2 times 40 is 80, minus 30 is 50. I see that these angles do add to 90, but again on my calculator, 1 divided by cosine is how we type in secant, and 1 divided by sine is how we type in cosecant. And again, they do match up, so I have confidence my answer is correct. And that is it.